All right, first we need to get our chuck roast prepared. Some people like to do this a day before. I personally don't mind doing it 1 hour before. And because this is a Lion Diet recipe, I of course will only be using regular salt, or in this case, Redmond real salt. My favorite salt to use for meat, and for anything for that matter. I have Redmond real salt right here. I also have smoked salt in different varieties. This is the Redmond cherry smoked salt. I've also got hickory chef's blend. So I've got a variety of different salts I can use. In this case today, I'm just gonna keep it simple and use regular salt, but I'm not gonna use coarse salt that I grind for something like this, where we're gonna let it sit for a while. I'm gonna use kosher salt. There we go. Nice big serving of kosher salt here. The thing I like about kosher salt is that it's not as thick as your coarse salt, but it's not as fine as the fine salt. And it allows it to really soak into the meat and get that flavor to come out of the meat. People always ask me, how much salt do you put on there? I always say, when you feel like you've used enough, use twice as much more. Especially when you're doing something like a slow cook, like a roast is going to be, you want to have a lot of salt. So you can see here, you can see the salt on the surface, and that's one of the things I like about using kosher salt, is that you can see what you've been able to do to the meat as far as getting the salt on the surface. I'm going to let this brine for an hour, and then we're going to put it in the slow cooker. Set it on low. I also want to put a temperature probe in there, because I've noticed these slow cookers, especially these cheap slow cookers like I'm using here, a little Walmart brand cheap Crockpot, it'll very easily get the meat well over 200 degrees. So I'm going to use my Meter Plus. Go ahead and get my app ready. We'll go ahead and set up cook. We're doing beef. Roast, that's what we want, not steak. All right, so we got roast, we got a chuck. It's got fall apart setting. That's what I want, is fall apart. Okay, well, again, this is the first time I've done a chuck roast where I'm going to use the Meter Plus. So we'll see how this works out. Start cook. Got to turn on my sound. All right, let's stick this thing in there and get it going. I'm going to find the thickest part of the meat with the least amount of fat area. So I want to go in here because I don't want to go through the fat center piece here. Stick it in past the line. There we go. I'm also going to add a little bit of Wagyu beef tallow to this to add a little bit of flavor, a little bit of fat. I want to put it on top because most of it's going to wind up down in the bottom anyway. So I want it to really drip down this meat and add that flavor. You want to be sure to leave the lid on the whole time that it's cooking, because every time you take that lid off, it's going to increase the amount of time it's going to take by a good bit. I mean, it really does. You got to keep that heat in there for a long period of time if you want to get a good result on a chuck roast like that. Sometimes people ask me if you should add water. I think it depends on the person. My wife likes to add water when she makes them. I don't add water when I make mine. I add a little bit of fat because I think the juices in the fat are going to do a much better job than adding water, but personal preference on that. You also want to keep the Meter Plus charging station close to the meter. So I'm going to put it right here. It's still flashing green, so I know it wasn't too far away. But if it gets too far away, it'll lose the signal and won't be able to send it to your phone. So Meter Plus just told me my cook time has been established, so I can turn that off, that alert. It's currently 73 degrees inside the meat, 178 inside the pot, and the target temperature is 203 for the internal. It's saying 5 hours and 31 minutes, but I'm betting it's going to take a lot less time than that because I've seen how fast this thing can cook. But we'll see. An hour and 2 minutes have passed since I actually started cooking on this, and I believe it was close to 6 hours it said it was going to take when it first got in there, and here it's already down to 2 hours and 54 minutes. So it's going a lot faster, just like I expected it would. But still, 3 hours left, and you can see the Wagyu beef fat has melted into the meat, so it's just getting it ready for some deliciousness. I'm looking forward to seeing how this comes out. All right, there's the meter plus telling me there's 5 minutes left on that chuck roast cooking over there. Kind of hard to tell through the glass, but it definitely looks like it's cooked. We'll see how tender it comes out using the meter plus. It's been in there 2 hours and 53 minutes, so it looks like 3 hours on low is going to be the proper setting for this size chuck roast in a slow cooker like the Crockpot that I got from Walmart. I've been cooking them a lot longer than that, y'all, and I've noticed sometimes they come out really dry, but they do tend to come out pretty tender. Hopefully this one's going to come out plenty juicy and also plenty tender. And there we go, we got removed from heat, so I'm going to turn it down to warm. Oh, doesn't that look good? Let's take a look with these tongs here. Oh wow. So according to our temperature probe, it's at the right temperature to be fall apart cooked in a slow cooker, and it took 3 hours. Let's see how it does as far as the mouthfeel. Tender and juicy, it's not overcooked. That's something I used to see a lot. That it didn't used to happen on that machine, but recently I've been seeing when I cook in there for a long period of time on low, it comes out overcooked. I can't imagine what it would be like if I tried it on high. It is perfect in my mouth. I mean, the tenderness is great. It's not rough on my teeth. It's not getting stuck between my teeth. It's juicy. As I usually find with slow cooked meat, it could use just a little more salt to taste. But I'm happy. I'll see you next time.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?